Okay, let's go ahead and jump right in. The total cost calculation is done by taking the quantity on hand and multiplying by the unit cost at that time. The note over on the left margin, I've written down that the unit cost was $50 per textbook at the start of the month. So we'll go ahead and do our first calculation. 15 textbook on hand at a cost of $50 a pop will give us a total cost of $750. So the average cost calculation is not a huge deal at this point because we know that each book had cost us a round number of $50. So you can either just write down 50 or go ahead and do the calculation for practice. It will be 750 divided by 15 books. We will get $50 per book. The next one, we have 13 more books purchased at the same price. So nothing has changed yet. The only thing that changes is our total cost. It is now 28 times 50. That gives us 1400, and our average cost stays at 50 per book. Then we have a sale on September 10th. This is also the day the unit cost changes from 50 to 60. However, since we're making a sale, this has no impact on weighted average cost per unit at this point. So we're just going 14 books remaining in our inventory times $50 a book. It will give us half of what we had, from 1400 down to 700. And on September 13th, this is where things get a little more interesting. We buy 15 more books. Now note that these are at a cost of $60 each, right? 60. So 15 times 60 gives us an added value to our inventory of 900. So we add 900 plus 700 gives us a total cost of 1600. And when we divide 1600 by 29, the total cost of our inventory divided by the quantity on hand, this is where we get the first unique number in this column. We should get $55.17, rounded to the nearest cent, of course. Finally, on September 20th, we have one more sale. We sell 12 books. Remember, these books coming out of our inventory are taken out at 55.17 each. So what we have left is 17 units at the end of the month. So we'll just go 17 times 55.17. And after rounding, we get 938 as our total cost. Our average cost per unit remains unchanged. And we copy down the same numbers for the bottom line, which is the September month end. So at the end of September, we hold 17 books with a total cost of $938, and the average cost per unit is $55.17. So that's how that is done. We're going to look at it a little differently. So let's hone in on two purchase dates, September 4th and September 13th. These were the only two purchase dates in the month of September. So this is kind of like calculating the average unit cost in one big step. So at upper denominator, we're going to have the total cost, which is illustrated here by adding up 15 textbook, which we had at the beginning of the month, at a cost of $50 each, plus 13 textbooks which you purchased in our first transaction of the month, also at $50 each. So when you go ahead and add those together, we can get this number right off our table above. It works out to 1,400. And then this is pretty straightforward over here. We have 15 textbook originally plus 13 more gives us a total of 28 books. So 1,400 divided by 28 gives us $50 per book, which is a number we expected all along. And then September 13th, again, a little more interesting. We buy 15 books for $60, and then we have 14 on hand at $50 each. At that point in time, the total cost adds up to $1,600. And this time we're dividing by 29. 15 plus 14 gives us the same number we have in our table, $55.17 after rounding to the nearest cent. This next part looks at COGS expense for sales on one specific day. So we're just looking at September 20th. We sold 12 units, and you're going to plug some numbers in, the unit cost per book, and do a calculation to figure out the total cost of units sold on September 20th. And then we're going to make a journal entry. Actually, a couple of journal entries, one for the sales revenue and one for the cost of goods sold. And also have a look at the bottom here, where the ending inventory calculation happens. So try these two things out, and we will go over them in about 90 seconds here in this same video. Okay, so on that magical day, September 20th, our average cost per unit was 55.17. So we go ahead and plug that in and multiply by 12 units sold. Gives us a total COGS for that day of 662. Rounded to the nearest dollar, of course. So we will use that information for our journal entry. So September 20th, we have a sale on account. So it will be accounts receivable. That will be debited. And the books sold for $100 each. So that's simple math. 12 units times $100 each gives us AR of 1200. Also sales revenue of 1200. So for your final exam, you won't be asked to write down descriptions, but just for fun, I'm going to put one down. Merchandise sold on account. And then we record the second half of the transaction, cost of goods sold expense, and that's where our number comes in, 662. This is coming out of inventory, of course, so credit there for 662. Again, brief description. I'm going to change it up a little bit here for fun. 12 books sold, 12 times 55.17. Okay, so those are a couple of journal entries here. And finally, we're going to look at ending inventory. Now, we've already done this in our table. At the end of September, our average unit cost is 55.17. We have 17 books on hand. And maybe I'll have some fun here and I'll show you how the rounding works. So 937.89 rounds to 938. You don't have to do this on your exam, of course. You just write down 938 as ending inventory value and leave it at that. Maybe I'll add a $sign here. Okay. Some points to note. The first purchase on September 4th had no impact on unit costs since the cost, purchase price, shipping, insurance remained the same as old inventory. Sales of goods have no impact on unit costs. Only purchases can raise or lower unit costs. All identical units held in inventory have the same value at a given point in time under the weighted average cost method. The average unit cost was rounded to the nearest cent and the total cost to the nearest dollar. Let's move on to the FIFO method here. Under this method, the inventory is traced through the purchasing and selling process. It is assumed that the older inventory is sold first, so the unit cost of the oldest unit ends up as a COGS expense first. Let's assume the bookstore uses the FIFO method for its COGS calculation, and here's the table for the financial accounting. Textbook purchases and sales again. To demonstrate the FIFO method, let's assume that once again, the bookstore supplier increased the price of the textbook by $10 on September 10th, increasing the bookstore's unit cost to $60. So once again, let's go ahead and write that down. It'll help us. So everything from here to here is 50, and everything from here to here is 60. So what we'll do now is we'll go through a similar process as we did with the moving weighted average method. And that is we will add to this table here on the right side. I'm going to add one column here. It's going to be costs of the units on hand. We'll try to underline this neatly. Not quite so neat here. Okay, so what I recommend my students to do is to track this process under the FIFO method. So you keep track of the number of units you have on hand and how much you bought the units for. And the idea is whenever there's a sale, you take the oldest units out first. So the way I do it is I make sure that my oldest units are written on the left side. I'm going to start with the first line here, beginning inventory, 15 at $50. So I know that the first block here is the oldest inventory I have. So if I were to buy more units at a different price, I would copy the oldest block straight down, put a comma, and write the new block to the right. On the contrary, if there were to be a sale, I would make sure that the units come out of the block on the left first, because those are the oldest units that I have. So under the FIFO method, whatever is the oldest should come out first. So try filling in the rest of this table, and we'll cover it in the next video.